Number 29. The most noticeable human characteristic projected onto animals is that they can talk in human language. Physically, animal cartoon characters and toys made after animals are also most often deformed in such a way as to resemble humans. This is achieved by showing them with human-like facial features and deformed front legs to resemble human hands. In more recent animated movies, the trend has been to show the animals in a more natural way. However, they still use their front legs like human hands. For example, lions can pick up and lift small objects with one paw, and they still talk with an appropriate facial expression. A general strategy that is used to make the animal characters more emotionally appealing both to children and adults are to give them enlarged and deformed childlike features. Number 30. The major philosophical shift in the idea of selling came when industrial societies became more affluent, more competitive, and more geographically spread out during the 1940s and 1950s. This forced business to develop closer relations with buyers and clients, which in turn made business realize that it was not enough to produce a quality product at a reasonable price. In fact, it was equally essential to deliver products that customers actually wanted. Henry Ford produced his best-selling T-model Ford in one color only, black, in 1908. But in modern societies, this was no longer possible. The modernization of society led to a marketing revolution and strengthened the view that production would create its own demand. Customers and desire to meet their diverse and often complex needs became the focus of business. Number 31. People differ in how quickly they can reset their biological clocks to overcome jet lag, and the speed of recovery depends on the direction of travel. Generally, it is easier to fly westward and lengthen your day than it is to fly eastward and shorten it. This east-west difference in jet lag is sizable enough to have an impact on the performance of sports teams. Studies have found that teams flying westward perform significantly better than teams flying eastward in professional baseball and college football. A more recent study of more than 46,000 Major League Baseball games found additional evidence that eastward travel is tougher than westward travel. Number 32. If you want the confidence that comes from achieving what you set out to do each day, then it's important to understand how long things are going to take. Over-optimism about what can be achieved within a certain time frame is a problem, so work on it. Make a practice of estimating the amount of time needed alongside items on your things to do list, and learn by experience when tasks take a greater or lesser time than expected. Give attention also to fitting the task to the available time. There are some tasks that you can only set about if you have a significant amount of time available. There is no point in trying to gear up for such a task when you only have a short period available. So schedule the time you need for the longer tasks and put the shorter tasks into the spare moments in between. Number 33. In Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass, the Red Queen takes Alice on a race through the countryside. They run and they run, but then Alice discovers that they're still under the same tree that they started from. The Red Queen explains to Alice, "Here, you see, it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place." Biologists sometimes use this Red Queen effect to explain an evolutionary principle. If foxes evolved to run faster so they can catch more rabbits, then only the fastest rabbits will live long enough to make a new generation of bunnies that will run even faster, in which case, of course, only the fastest foxes will catch enough rabbits to thrive and pass on their genes, even though they might run the two species just to stay in place. Number 34. Everything in the world around us was finished in the mind of its creator before it was started. The houses we live in, the cars we drive, and our clothing, all of these began with an idea. Each idea was then studied, refined, and perfected before the first nail was driven or the first piece of cloth was cut. Long before the idea was turned into a physical reality, the mind had clearly pictured the finished product. The human being designs his or her own future through much the same process. We began with an idea about how the future will be. Over a period of time, we refine and perfect the vision. Before long, our every thought, decision, and activity are all working in harmony to bring into existence that we have mentally concluded about the future. Number 35. Whose story it is affects what the story is. Change the main character, and the focus of the story must also change. If we look at the events through another character's eyes, we will interpret them differently. We'll place our sympathies with someone new. When the conflict arises that is the heart of the story, we will be praying for a different outcome. Consider, for example, how the tale of Cinderella would shift if told from the viewpoint of an evil stepsister. We know Cinderella's kingdom does not exist, but we willingly go there anyway. Gone with the Wind is Scarlett O'Hara's story, but what if we were shown the same events from the viewpoint of Rhett Butler or Melanie Wilkes? Number 36. In the Old Stone Age, small bands of 20 to 60 people wandered from place to place in search of food. Once people began farming, they could settle down near their farms. As a result, towns and villages grew larger. Living in communities allowed people to organize themselves more efficiently. They could divide up the work of producing food and other things they needed. While some workers grew crops, others built new houses and made tools. Village dwellers also learned to work together to do a task faster. For example, toolmakers could share the work of making stone axes and knives. By working together, they could make more tools in the same amount of time.